So the example that we just considered was a combination of a epicyclic chain and a compound gear chain. We have not covered that topic in theory, but as you can see from our numerical example that it is pretty much straightforward, and it employs the principle of the epicyclic chain and the compound gear chain. Now we will take up one last example on the epicyclic chain, which is shown here, example 4. This is a typical epicyclic chain that we saw during our derivation. So we are having a leg L, we are having the sun gear at the center and three planet gears that are meshing with the sun, and on the outer there is an annulus which is enclosing the planet gear. So in this problem, the given quantities are that the input power transfer is from annulus gear at 11 kilowatt power, and the annulus gear is rotating at 1500 rpm. Then the next information given is that diametral pitch is 10 per inch for all gears. Diametral pitch is nothing but, if you recall the definition, it is inverse of module. So diametral pitch, since module is equal to diameter by teeth, and diametral pitch is equal to teeth per unit diameter. That you can understand from the units here, 10 per inch. So 10 teeth per inch. Now the further quantities given in this problem are the pitch diameters of various gears. So pitch diameter for sun is given as 127 mm. For planets, the three planets, they are all having pitch circle diameter of 63.5 mm, and the annulus is having, that we can find out from the combination of sun and planet also, since radius of annulus will be equal to radius of sun plus 2 times the radius of the planets. As you can see from this geometry, radius of sun plus 2 times radius of the planet is radius of annulus. So hence annulus radius will be equal to r sun plus 2 times r planet, that is 127 plus 2 times 63.5, equal to 254 mm. So even if it's not given, you can derive this quantity. Now the question asked is that if pressure angle is 20 degree, this is also given quantity. The questions asked are general. First is the number of teeth on all gears. Second is, and the second part is that provided the number of revolution, the speed of sun is equal to 0, that means the sun gear is fixed, and we know the angular rotation speed of the annulus. So the part is to find RPM of the planet and legs and their direction. The third part of the question is to find torques on input and output shaft. Solving this problem, solution. The first part is to find the number of teeth on all the gears. So we have the diametrical pitch given. Diametrical pitch is equal to number of teeth divided by diameter. So number of teeth will be equal to diametrical pitch into diameter. So for the sun, we have number of teeth on the sun will be equal to diametrical pitch is provided here as a value of 10 per inch for all the gears. 10 multiplied the pitch circle diameter of the sun, that is 127 mm. 127 mm, and since this is given as in mm and the diameter pitch is given per inch, so we have to divide 25.4 because 1 inch is equal to 25.4 mm. To simplify this expression, you will get number of teeth on sun 50 teeth. Similarly, for the planet, Tp equal to 10 by 25.4 into 60 V.5
This will be equal to nearly 25 teeth. You'll get some value here, but you have to take the whole number. And for the third part, the annulus. So number of teeth on annulus will be equal to 10 by 25.4, that is diametric pitch, multiplied by 254 mm. So this is around 100 teeth. So this is answer for the first part of the problem. In the second part of the question, the angular speed of the leg and planet is asked, and sun is fixed. So omega sun or n sun will be equal to 0, and the rotational speed of the annulus is given. So that is equal to 1500 rpm. So we'll go about solving this problem from our traditional method of finding the gear ratio first, or the velocity ratio first. So here the driver is annulus. So n annulus by n sun will be the gear ratio. This will be equal to teeth on sun divided by teeth on annulus. This is equal to 50 by 100 is equal to 0.5. So we know the gear ratio now, and we'll use our approach. Let's assume that leg has speed, angular speed of NL. So we'll consider the in minus NL frame of reference. We will get the gear ratio will be equal to, since annulus is the input, so n annulus minus NL, because this will be the speed of annulus in the minus NL frame of reference, and speed of sun will be ns minus NL. So we know we'll substitute the values. Annulus speed is 1500 rpm, and it was provided that the annulus is clockwise, so we take plus 1500 rpm. Then we will take NL, that has to be determined. Annular, the speed of the sun is 0, which is equal to 6, minus NL equal to gear ratio, which is 0.5, that we just derived. So simplify this expression, we'll get 0.5 NL plus NL is equal to 1500. That means it comes 3 by 2 NL equal to 1500. So NL will come around 1000 rpm, and the value is positive, so clockwise. So we have also determined the direction of the rotation. Now we will come for determining the angular speed of the planet. So the gear ratio between sun and planet will be equal to when the leg is fixed. So it will be equal to the ratio. Let's say the sun is input, so ns by n planet will be equal to Tp by Ts, with number of teeth. Number of teeth on the planet is 25, number of teeth on the sun is 50, so this is also half. And now in minus NL frame of reference, the gear value will remain same. So the gear will remain same as minus 1 by 2, but the rotational speeds will be changing. That will be, everything is rotated by minus NL. So we will add minus NL to both the quantities, ns by np minus NL. This is equal to gear ratio, that is half. Now substitute the values. Sun velocity is no 0, it is fixed. NL we know it is 1000 now, that is positive 1000. NP we want to determine, and minus 1000 equal to half. So simplify this expression, NP minus 1000 will be equal to 2 minus 2000. So NP will be equal to minus 1000 rpm, and since the sign is negative, so it is moving anti-clockwise. So hence you determine the direction and speed of the rotation of planet. So answer for part 2. It is always easier to consider for all of this epicyclic gear chain problem to determine the gear ratio first, considering the leg is fixed, and then that gear ratio will remain same in minus NL frame of reference. So in reality, the leg is also moving, but since we are looking from a minus NL frame of reference, it will appear that the leg is fixed. So then we can equate the both gear ratios. In one case, we are fixing the leg. In the other case, leg is rotating, but it is appearing that it is fixed because of minus NL rotation to the whole system. And the gear ratio remains same and it becomes easier to solve than making a table. That is another way that we saw in the theory. That also, if you feel comfortable, you can use in the problem. The third part of the problem is to find torque on input and output shaft. So the input shaft is your annulus. It is rotating at 1500 rpm clockwise, and the power transmitted to the system is 11 kilowatt. So this is considered constant. There is no loss in the system, and the output is leg in the present case. So it is rotating at 1000 rpm clockwise. That is on our left solution. So torque is equal to power divided by angular speed. So angular speed is 2 pi n by 60. So power divided by 2 pi n by 60. We substitute the value. So input torque will be equal to power is 11 kilowatts. So 11,000 divided by 2 pi n for input is 1500 rpm divided by 60. If you simplify this expression, you get a value of 70.03 Newton meter. And for the output, we just need to know again only the rotational speed because the power will remain same. 11 kilowatts, 11 to 1000 divided by 2 pi n. N is 1000 in this case divided by 60. So this will be equal to 105.0 Newton meter. So since the input speed is higher, the input torque is less, output speed is less, so the torque is higher. Next, we will take up some geared questions from the overall chapter of the gear and gear trains in both the sections 1 and 2. So we'll take question 1, which was asked in GATE 2001. So here the question, the quantity is given is that for a spur gear, the module of both the gears is equal to 4 mm. So for both wheel and pinion, anyway it should be same for both wheel and pinion. This is a basic condition of gearing. The number of teeth on gear, that is gear means the wheel, the bigger one, is 25. So and the pressure angle is provided as 20 degree. So if addendum is equal to module, find the addendum circle radius. This is a question. So if you recall our definition, like this is pinion, this is the gear, the bigger one is called gear, then you have pitch circle radius. So the addendum circle is pitch circle radius plus the addendum. So addendum is given in this case equal to module, and module we know is 4 mm. So the task is basically to determine the pitch circle radius. So pitch circle radius we can determine from the definition of module. Module is equal to pitch circle diameter divided by number of teeth. The pitch circle diameter is 2 times pitch circle radius divided by number of teeth. On the gear it is given as 25 teeth. So 25, and module is given as 4 mm. So by solving this, the pitch circle radius will be equal to 25 into 4 divided by 2, that is 25 into 2, that is 50 mm. So pitch circle radius is 50 mm, and addendum circle radius is equal to pitch circle radius plus addendum. So this is equal to module in this case. This is provided for the standard gearing. So that means we have 50 plus 4 equal to 54 mm. So this is available in one of the options and you can choose it. It was the option number C for this case. This is the answer. We'll consider another question from GATE. So in this question, the question is without non-numerical one. The formula or definition is asked. It is asked that the center distance between gears when the base circle radius are given. So base circle radius are capital R and small r. Remember capital R for bigger gear, that is wheel, and R for pinion, small r for pinion. And pressure angle is xi. So what is the center distance between the gears? So four options are given. A is R plus small r sin psi. B is R plus R cos psi. C is R plus R sin psi, and D is R plus R divided by cos psi. So for this we have to recall our original diagram for the spur gearing, and we have to calculate the distance between the centers. And if you remember that this is the pitch point where both the circle radius intersect, and then a line at an angle xi to the common tangent is called pressure line. So the line at inclination is pressure line, and if you drop a tangent from the center of a gear to the pressure line, you will get the radius for the base circle. So you will get a base circle like this. This is base circle for the wheel. Similarly, you will have a base circle for the pinion. So from the base circle, it is given that the radius of the base circle is R here, and this is the right angle triangle. We are dropping from the center O2 to I2 here, if you recall our original convention derivation. So this is a right angle triangle, and since this angle is xi, this angle will also be xi, because this is xi, this is 90 minus xi, this angle, and so this angle will be xi. So from this triangle, you can get the distance between O2 and P. The pitch point O2 P is equal to R by cos psi. Similarly, you will get for the pinion circle also O1P equal to R by cos psi. So from these two, you can get the distance between the center O1, O2, the summation of these two, this will be equal to R. Sorry, this O1P will be small r cos psi, because the radius for the smaller one will be small r, the base circle radius. So if you add these two, you get R plus R divided by cos psi, and hence D is the correct answer. We will take up another example, a question which was asked in GATE 2009. It is on the epicyclic gear. So in the epicyclic gears, it is provided that the sun is having 20 external feet and the planet is having 40 external feet, and from that you can find the number of feet on the annulus, that is the sun plus 2 times the planet, and also it is given in the problem, it is having 100 feet. Now it is provided that the annulus is fixed and input is sun gear, from sun gear which is rotating at 50 rpm clockwise, and output is taken from the leg or the arm. The question is to find the rotational speed of the output. So here, for solving this problem, we'll take the minus NL frame of reference, that kind of approach. So we'll find out the gear ratio or velocity ratio between the speeds, between the gears for which the speeds are known. So speeds are known for the annulus, that is fixed, and annulus is equal to 0, and sun gear NS is equal to plus 50 rpm clockwise. So velocity ratio between sun and gear will be, let's say, ns by na. This will be equal to ta by ts. This is equal to 100 divided by sun is having 20 gears, so this will be equal to 5. Now this is the velocity ratio in case leg is fixed. In case the leg is rotating, so since output is leg, so leg is rotating. So in that case, we'll consider minus L frame of reference, where we are seeing the things rotating with minus NL speed. And in that case, also the velocity ratio between the annulus and the gear will be same. But in that case, the speed will change. So it will be ns minus nl by na minus nl will be equal to velocity ratio. And the velocity ratio will remain same, will not change. It will be 5. And ns for the sun, we know it is 50 rpm clockwise, so plus 50. NL we want to determine. Annulus is 0. Minus NL is equal to 5. So 5 NL plus NL minus 5 NL plus NL is equal to 50. So minus 4 NL is equal to 50. NL will be equal to minus 12.5. That means counterclockwise. So this is the answer. We'll take up another question that on the epicyclic actually compound epicyclic chain, gear chain, which was asked in GATE 2006. Here a diagram was given, so I'll sketch the diagram for you. This is input gear, then you have it meshing with another gear, and that gear, second gear, is compound with a third gear, and this compound gear arrangement is supported by leg or the carrier gear. The output of the leg gear is somewhere here, and since the leg gear, it will come inside a sun gear. So this is the second sun gear. So here in this problem, you can see the special thing that this is the carrier, let's say C, or L, let's say L is the leg. This leg is common for both this epicyclic chain 1 and epicyclic chain 2. So here in this second chain, this is P2, planet of 2, this is planet of 1, this is sun of 1, this is sun of 2. So the complete thing is sun of 2. So two epicyclic chains are joined together by a common leg. This is a specialty in this problem, and it is provided that the angular velocities of gear are, you can take some convention, omega s1, omega p1, omega p2, omega s2, and omega l. So l being the carrier, the leg. And then the number of teeth on various gears are given. So for the planetary gear of train 1 P1, it is 45. The sun of first chain, it is 15 teeth. The sun of second chain, it is 40 teeth, and the planet of second chain is 20 teeth. 20 teeth, 40 teeth, 15 and 45 teeth. Now the question asked are two parts. The first part is that what is the relation of between angular velocity of two sun gears. So that is, it is asking the relation between omega s1 and omega s2, the relation between these two. And for that, many options are given. I'll outline the options here. Omega, so these are the four options. Omega s1 minus omega l divided by omega s2 minus omega l is equal to 6. The B option is reverse of that. Omega s2 minus omega l divided by omega s1 minus omega l is equal to 6. Third option is in terms of the velocities of the planetary gear. And fourth option is the mixture of the planetary gear and sun gear velocity. But here we are asked the relation between S1 and S2. So straight away you can rule out the option D because here S1 is not occurring. So there is no relation between S1 and S2 here. We have to find out the correct answer from A, B and C. So we go about solving this problem with our usual approach of finding the velocity ratio with leg fixed. So in that case, the chain becomes a simple chain, reduces to a simple chain. S1 drives P1 and P1 and P2 are from same shaft and P2 drives S2. So in that case, the velocity ratio will be, let's say, omega S2 by omega S1 will be equal to T S1 by T P1 multiplied by T P2 by T S2. So this is a simple formula for the compound chain. You can see it for yourself. Uh, so TS1 is given as 15 and 45. So we substitute the values. TS1 is 15, TP2 is 20, TP1 is 45, and TS2 is 40. Simplifying this thing, this becomes 2 and this becomes 3. So it becomes 1 by 6. Now we will consider the leg also to be moving and we will consider minus omega L frame of reference. So in that frame of reference, the velocity ratio will remain the same. However, the velocities themselves will change because we are seeing a minus omega L frame of reference. So leg appears to be fixed, and then this expression becomes omega S2 minus omega L divided by omega S1 minus omega L equal to 1 by 6. So hence if you inverse this thing, we get omega S1 minus omega L divided by omega S2 minus omega L equal to 6. So hence from the 4 options you can see that the A is the correct option. The second part of the question is that if omega S1, so the input sun gear is rotating at 60 rpm clockwise, what is the value of omega L, is a leg velocity? So we are not talking exactly in terms of omega, we are talking n here because this is rpm. So what is the value of NL, the revolutions of leg and its direction, if the output sun gear, that is S2, has to rotate anti-clockwise with twice velocity of S1. So we'll solve this problem. So here it is given that the S2 is rotating anti-clockwise. So and angular speed of S2 is negative than the S1, and it is a twice velocity of S1. So 2 times NS1. So NS1 is given as 60. So NS2 is equal to minus 120 RPM. So for minus 120 RPM, what is the NL? So in our earlier derivation, we saw that omega S1 minus omega L divided by omega S2 minus omega L is equal to 6. So this implies that n S1 goes 2 pi a by 60. You can take common and cancel out. NL by n S2 minus NL is equal to 6. Now we can put the value NS1 is equal to 60 clockwise minus NL, the NS2 is minus 120, that means anti-clockwise. To simplify this expression, you will get minus 5 NL equal to 60 plus 6 into 120. If you simplify this expression, you will get finally NL is equal to minus 156 RPM, and because of minus sign, it means anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So from this example, you have seen the power of the epicyclic gear, that if you want to change the angular velocity of the output sun gear, you just have to rotate the leg at some different. This characteristic property is of for the epicyclic gear chain, that by rotating, you can dynamically change the angular velocity ratio chain. by changing angular velocity or direction of leg, one can dynamically, like at his wish, change input to output velocity ratio, velocity ratio as per the need for same number of tooth and gear arrangement. So this is a special property, and this use of this property is made in some industrial equipment. That's why the epicyclic gears are of interest. So this is an interesting fact that you should keep in your mind for your knowledge. Now we will move on to another question that was asked in GATE 2004. Here a diagram of a lifting platform was given. So the lifting platform is formed like this. We have two gears which are meshing with the racks on this shaft. These shafts are having racks and these are having gears. They are meshing with each other. These two gears, one of the gear is driven by a input motor, and the input motor gear is meshing here. So it is given that the load on the platform is 1000 Newton, and the number of teeth on the driver motor is given. It is equal to 20 teeth, and the driven rotors, that is 80 teeth, 80 teeth each. So both of them are symmetrical, and the module is given. So module is 2 mm for all gears, and it is given that the efficiency of this chain is equal to 80%. Now this is a two-part question. The first part being asked is that if pressure angle between rack and the gears meshing with the rack, this means these two driven gears, is 20 degree, then find the force acting along the line of action. And these are the four options given: 250 Newton, 342, 552, and 600 Newton. So for finding the force along the line of action, it will be lying somewhat like this, which is 20 degree to the common normal between the rack and this gear. We have to find first the force along the normal of the at the gear and this meshing gear. Now, since you have 1000 Newton being distributed equally on two sides, so you will have the normal force of 500 Newton. So F will be F along common tangent will be equal to 500 Newton for each gear. So we know that the force acting along the force line is equal to F divided by cos xi. This will be 500 divided by cos 20 degree. So this is, as you can see from the option, since cos 0 is 1 and cos 20 degree will be somewhere near 0.8, 0.9, so the value will be somewhat greater than 500 and near to 500. So in this option you can pick 532. You don't have to exactly go for the calculation. Even if you do the calculation, you get the same value. So the answer is C. The second part of the question is the torque required on input motor shaft to create output thrust. The output thrust is 1000 Newton in this case, and the drive efficiency is 80%. So we have to solve for this. For that we need to calculate the torque on the gears first, the driven gears, and from the driven gears you can get the torque on the driver gear. So for that we have to draw the free body diagram of the wheel, the driven wheel. So the driven wheel, if you see, it is applied with the force F 500 Newton, that is equally distributed on both the sides. So 500 Newton here, and then here there will be a normal force between the two meshing gear, that will be also 500 Newton. So total, this gear is subjected to 1000 Newton of force at a distance of radius of this gear. So that we have to first determine the radius of the gear. Radius of the gear we can determine from module. So from the module, we know that m equal to d by t. So radius will be equal to module into number of t divided by 2. So substituting the value of module, we get r is equal to 100 mm, 80 mm. So r is 80 mm here, and the force along the driven gear is as we saw 500 plus 500 is equal to 1000 Newton. So the torque will be 1000 into 80 Newton meters, and then we have to get the of the input shaft. So now we will consider these two gears, the input gear here and the output gear here. So if you consider the efficiency is equal to input force, that is T driver, let's say it is T1 omega 1 divided by T driven, that is T2 omega 2, and efficiency is given as 0.8. T1 on the driver we have to find out. T2 we know that it is 1000 into 80, and omega 1 by omega 2, the gear ratio we can get from this figure from the number of teeth. So it will be T2 by T1, the number of teeth here, T is teeth. So this, so T2 is 80 and T1 is 20. 80 and 20 is a substitute value, which will be 4. So this equation will be 4 T1 is equal to 2.8 multiplied by 1000 multiplied by 80. If you simplify that, you get T1 equal to 25 Newton meter. So this is the correct answer that you can choose from the given option.